Okay, Luna, Sofia Miranda. How did you get into acting? What was the moment that you got discovered or you went for it? What happened?
I think as soon as I could crawl, I knew that I wanted to be an actress. And I'm so blessed to be a native New Yorker. There was a public school here, and I went there for 7 years and studied theater for 7 years. It was
Wow.
called Professional Performing Arts School. J. Allen White went there. We only crossed over for 1 year. After I graduated high school, continuing my acting studies was really expensive. And that's how I started work, was to pay for my acting classes. And I had honestly kind of stopped because after COVID, my life was such a mess. I had stopped acting. And then that's when I randomly met Sean Baker at the strip club where I work. And he and his wife took my email and auditioned me for their film. I still can't believe that that happened.
Were they scouting at clubs for Anora?
I think what they were doing at first was consulting sex workers for authenticity. So they had found my coworker, Sofia Carnabucci, on Instagram, and they came to the club to visit her so that they could consult with her. And then I tried to sell them a private room, and they were like, no, thank you. But I was like, okay, if I can't hustle a private room, maybe I can hustle something else. Who knows?
So did you know who he was?
So I know who he was, but I didn't recognize them when they were sitting there. They just looked like a normal couple who was maybe out on a special occasion. And we talked for a good half an hour before they were like, by the way, we made the Florida project. And I was like, what are you doing here?
Yeah. The strip club's in Brooklyn, right?
Yeah, the strip club Pumps is in North Brooklyn. It's kind of notorious. Allegedly, a lot of famous people used to hang out there in the late 90s, early 2000s. I truly don't think I would have met them had I been dancing at a strip club in the Midwest or the South.
Yeah.
It had to be Brooklyn.
Is that normal for you to talk to customers that long?
No, it's not. It's really not. I've really refined my hustle over the years. And if I don't make a sale in 2 to 3 minutes, I'm leaving. That works for me. Of course, if someone's tipping me to talk to them, I'll stick around longer. But if you don't buy champagne, if you don't want a private dance, if you're not tipping me for my time, I'm going to move on to the next person. I feel like I've been doing this since 2018. I can tell in the first 60 to 90 seconds if someone's going to be a bad trick or not. But the thing about that particular day is that it was really fucking slow. I had nothing else to do. I was like, why not just talk to this couple and see if they'll buy you a drink? Because I get paid for that.
So has it clicked for you yet what can be done through the vessel that is now Luna Sofia Miranda?
Yes, it has. I think that I've realized the potential that this personal brand has. I think that I recognize its power and how far it can take me. I think about building my empire, but I'm afraid. And I think right now I'm just going through a big moment of trying to push through the fear.
Do you think that Luna Sofia Miranda is different than who you are?
I think in the beginning, Luna and then my private self were very different. I got sloppy. And I let my brand kind of fuse with my life and myself. And I think that's bad both for my personhood, but also for my brand, right? Because as a person, you're constantly evolving. You wake up every day and you're a different person. A brand, sure, you can rebrand once a year, every 6 months, but a brand needs to sort of be constant, at least for a little while. And I think that I think I need to create just a more definitive separation between myself and then my personal brand.
Is that for safety or for the looks of it or what you think it should be, or you feel like that's just authentic, you want to keep them kind of separate?
Safety is a big thing. 6 months ago, I had 1,000 Instagram followers. Now I have 12,000. I don't know who most of those people are in my line of work. I don't necessarily want to be posting so much personal stuff. Online for many reasons. For safety, I also just think my brand would be stronger if it was separate from myself, because myself is chaos and I want my business to be not chaos.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy because people, it's oh, 12,000 followers, not that much. 1,000 followers, not that much. But if you actually think about 1,000, if you saw 1,000 people in a room, it would blow your mind. 12,000 people at a venue it's a pretty big venue. 100,000 is massive. So I think we kind of forget, just because we're comparing to people with millions of followers that are our peers, we get very like disillusioned by 1,000 or 12,000 followers, when in reality that's like a lot of people, and a lot of people that you don't know. Like you can't know 12,000 people really.
You're so right. I mean, I've been through your client list,
Yeah.
and some of these ladies have like millions of followers.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, I need to catch up. But you're right. 12, you and I feel like you and I have like a similar
Mhm.
follower count. You have a little bit more, but if you put 12,000 people into a room, that's like, holy shit. I can't name 12. I can't count to 12,000.
I can't name 12 people. Like your visibility online, has that ever felt like violence in any way? And if so, how do you reclaim agency in that?
So, I mean, I think my internet presence got really big during the Oscars.
Mhm.
And, you know, I had an interview with People magazine, which is a huge outlet. I went on Fox News and sort of became known to a group of people that hadn't known me before. I feel like the sex worker community, my kind of little hub of like Brooklyn burlesque performers and like drag queens, like they know who I am. But suddenly there were people following me who like watch Fox News and read People magazine. And I think that was a big shock.
Fox and People have very like, you know, not definitely not the like Bronx, Brooklyn vibe at all, audience.
No. I was like, okay, like
Yeah.
I spent my entire adulthood around sex workers. It's normal to me. And suddenly people were leaving comments on my videos that were quite like shocking and jarring to me.
Mhm.
But I realized that to the rest of the world,
Yeah.
talking about sex workers that way is completely normal.
I know.
And
I forget
people,
all the time.
right, because you're surrounded.
Yeah. I'm
All
so
your friends are
surrounded.
porn stars. Like all my friends are porn stars. Like same for you.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm always either in big cities like New York or LA. And it was only really when I started, I mean, talking to like my boyfriend and his friends, because they're in sports. And I'm like, it's not that they were like ever hateful or anything. It's just that they didn't understand. Like they didn't know. And they still ask me all the times, like, what does the commodification of self mean? What do you mean you're pro porn? Like their wives and their girlfriends always ask me that. And I'm fine with it, because I have to realize like that the middle America and the rest of America, unless you're extremely like it's a pretty radical opinion to want sex work legalized. And I had to realize that. And it's not necessarily like super left leaning either, because it's like very like anti-censorship that you're rooting for. So it's just radical in general. I think that it transcends politics. It is inherently political, but I do think it transcends politics. And it's a very like funny thing when I know people are in the middle of Republican and asking me about and work in general. And I'm like, well, it's actually kind of, if anything, Republican to want this like censorship removed, a little bit libertarian, I suppose. So I don't know why you're judging me, you know?
That you're so right. I guess you're right. It's not like a left or a right thing
Yeah.
necessarily, because there are people on the left who like directly oppose
Yes.
the legalization or decriminalization of sex work.
Yep. It is, somebody brought that to my attention too. I was like, I told them like, truly the only thing I'm like, you know, publicly political about, I guess, is sex work and sex work laws. And I was like, so I guess that's kind of like liberal or whatever. Like people can see me as like a liberal. And my friend was like, actually, and he's like a critic writer. And he was like, actually, that's not liberal at all. That's like the opposite of being liberal. And I was like, I never thought about it that way. It's not necessarily Republican or in the middle, but it transcends these two entities.
I think it does.
Yeah, it's comforting in this like black and white world that we're living in right now.
Yeah.
To kind of have a I guess radical opinion. I never wanted to be like a radical anything, but it's just normal to us, you know? It's just like, duh, like this is what we want. But you forget that people do not think this way and are not taught this way at all.
No,
Yeah.
that's such a good point.
Yeah, it's really interesting to think about that. And to ask that question in a different way than I asked before, it's generally speaking, not necessarily for you, but do you think that the self can be sold without being exploited?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think we're living through like what my mom used to call savage capitalism.
Ooh.
I guess late stage capitalism. That's what it is. She would just be like, we're living through savage capitalism. And I think that work is not inherently bad. I think it's very human to want to work.
Mhm.
I feel like work gives me structure. It gives me community. It gives me like a mission and a purpose.
Yeah.
Where it becomes like exploitative is when workers are being mistreated, they're not being paid enough, you're being burnt out, your money isn't stretching far enough because we have to pay for our own education and our own health care. So I think honestly, like, as much as we can try and make this conversation about like each individual person and how they're running their business, the truth is that like we're living through a time right now where our rights are being like slowly eroded, and I think that that makes being a sex worker so much harder. And like the example I'll give you is that I fucking love my job. I love working at the strip club. I've been doing it for so many years that I feel like I find like the best clients, and
Yeah.
I find guys who want to spend money and guys who also like want to have a good time. But I hurt my back really badly a couple months ago because I was working 40 hours a week. I was doing that voluntarily because I was having a great time.
Yeah.
But I can't work right now because I'm injured, and like I don't get workers comp, like I don't have benefits, I don't get paid time off. Like that's where I guess my like the commodification of my body has become like exploitative, is because like I really don't have the safety net that like a salaried employee at a company would have, even though I've been at the same fucking club for 3 years.
Yeah, that's how I started meeting sex workers in college. I wrote a research paper about, because when I was in school in Santa Cruz in California, and they just passed the law where they were starting to make strip clubs, specifically a lot in San Francisco is kind of when they rolled it out and were enforcing it. They made the switch from independent contractor to employee, and
This was AB5, right? Like the Dynamax lawsuit.
I think so. It was like in 2018.
I remember this.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow, that's so cool that you were there.
Yeah, I went to a strip club every weekend for my research in San Francisco, and I had no money, and I felt so bad. I was like trying to get my friends to come. I was like, you guys have to tip them because I don't have any money. But I met so many strippers and I interviewed them, and it's still I turned it into like a casual article that I posted online. Um, and I talked about how this one experience at a fully nude strip club in LA, like every fully nude strip club that I've been to has had drugs and alcohol at it, even though that's not allowed in California. Um, and there was a guy there that was like just being absolutely disgusting to these girls and to me. And he was the owner of one of those fast fashion brands that was really big. And anyway, I talked about like my experience feeling disgusted by him. And it was also, I felt like I was putting that feeling onto the strippers, like displacing it or projecting. And anyway, it was like a personal journey that I was writing about.
I want to read
And
this.
yeah, it's online. I'll send it to you. But I think it's very naive looking back on it. It was like literally 6 years ago, and I've learned so much from sex workers and strippers since. But so it's not necessarily my opinions now or whatever. But I did research. I did interview a lot of strippers, and some of them were for this girl, A.M. Davies, like got in an accident. You know her?
Yes. I love Anna Marie.
Yes.
I'm a fan.
So she was one of the only people. There was a few people that were for the employee switch, and she was for it because she got into a really bad motorcycle accident that amputated her leg. And same thing that you're experiencing right now. Like she was like, I got no workers comp. I had no benefits. There was nothing I could do except like not work. And that this was before OnlyFans, before the boom of online sex work. So and even if it was like, she was like, her leg was amputated, like that takes so much resting and whatever. So that was a very interesting point that I didn't think about, because I always, I just figured it would be better to be a contractor and to, kind of run your own business, but not necessarily. I really liked how you talked about, when I was asking that, I was imagining, I guess speaking in like a personal brand term, I should have clarified, but I love that you took it to all workers and in America and kind of the economy in general about like, can you sell yourself versus can it be, is it exploited? Speaking online for a moment, do you think that there is a line where it can feel like exploitation? And if you don't want to make a public comment on it, that's totally fine. I can also edit it out. But I think something that's relevant, that's a debate right now, is Sydney Sweeney. I've seen a lot of people saying like she is like a sacrificial lamb for these brands because apparently American Eagle's stock went up like $400 million from that ad, and it was right before a shareholders meeting. So I suppose this one theory from this creator Be Better was saying how these brands know that she's not going to get them canceled, but it is going to spark a debate that's going to rise in their sales. But she hasn't, she's a little bit exploiting herself if you're saying that she's a sacrificial lamb or being advised to sell herself, intensely. But you don't have to speak on that if you don't want to, because I know that's very like controversial to think about it. But speaking online, I'll go back to my original question. Do you think that there is a point where people start exploiting themselves for money or what have you, selling themselves to brands that they don't necessarily align with? And if so, how that applies to you? How do you think as your fame and success grows, you'll draw the line? Like, do you have any hard lines that you think you will not cross right now?
That's such a good question. I can say a hard line for me is like doing an ad that is like blatantly like racist. And, I try not to criticize celebrity women because they're just like the bounce board off of which an entire world projects their fears and insecurities. Two things can be true at once. It may be possible that Sydney Sweeney was exploited by American Eagle or American Outfitters or whatever, and that she also made a fuck ton of money. Because that's always what I ask myself is like, show me the receipts. And when Sabrina Carpenter did that album cover where a man was like pulling her hair and people were like so upset about it, I was like, well, but like, was it her idea? Did she want to do that? How much money did she make after those posts went viral? So I'm always like, show me the receipts.
Yes, I'm sure she made a lot of money from that. This one creator that was analyzing was like, it's not worth it if she really wants to be taken seriously as an actor, because eventually it'll water down her brand, or she's not developing this strong personal brand that she can, because I as much as I feel strange about her, like Kim Kardashian constructs her own controversy and therefore reaps all of the benefits of the stock price going up for all of her companies because she owns them. Whereas Sydney, yes, maybe she got a couple million for that ad, but she got nowhere near what the brand.
Yeah, the 400 fucking million that these walls.
$500 million is incomprehensible. So yeah, I'm also like, I'm positive she got a ton of money from that. But yeah, I and it's not for me to say whether a woman or anybody feels exploited or not, and I also think that there can be ads that you sign up for, brand and movies that you sign up for, where you're not necessarily in control and you don't realize the context that it's going to be shown in or how it's going to be received. And maybe it is incredibly insensitive and you didn't realize what you were signing up for because you're sort of placed in a context you didn't know about. Do you worry about that? What is your vetting process when somebody approaches you for a film or an ad?
That's such a good question. Just to dial back a sec, because I wanted to answer this.
Yeah.
You're kind of talking about Sydney's brand being watered down and people not taking her seriously as an actress. I was told years ago that if I started stripping and went public with it, it would affect my acting career. And I really didn't understand. I was like, what are you talking about? Like, strippers are so cool. Hollywood keeps making movies
That's how
about
you got
workers.
cast also.
Yeah, like
if I wasn't in the strip club, I wouldn't be in this damn Oscar-winning movie.
Pop stars, movie stars, runaway models. They're all like obsessed with like doing sex worker cosplay. So I was like, if anything, this will help me. Now, post Oscars, I understand why people were warning me against going public about being a sex worker. The like restrictions on who an actress can be and what she can look like are so fucking limited. And it's getting worse now because we're going back to white is right, and we're going back to straight is right, and we're going back to like a more conservative era of like pop culture aesthetics. And so I kind of like looking.
Can you give me an example of?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's something I have not noticed, but I am white and straight, so I probably wouldn't notice that.
Honestly, like, I feel like right now it's still kind of subliminal. I feel like the Sydney Sweeney ad is the first moment where we're really seeing this thrown in our faces. But a lot of like leftist content creators that I follow have been warning people since Trump was re-elected. This was before the inauguration, after he was voted in again, that like famous people, like a lot of the Kardashians, they're taking out their BBLs and their implants, and that the clean girl aesthetic is back. And a lot of like conservative influencers are by far like the most popular people on TikTok and Instagram. Like trad wifery is it's in, and even people who don't really appear to be leaning toward the right, they're making these videos about how to be like a more classy, elegant woman. And
yes, that is really interesting. And you know, the rise of Shara 7 too is very interesting because do you know her?
No, who's she? Who is she?
You've probably seen her videos. She's the like one that's like sprinkle. She like you need to see these videos. They're really funny. It's basically this woman who tells you like high value women like that. But she says it in a really funny way. She's Black, but she does like advise women. Like she's like, you can't order. She lists the ratchet things to order on a menu, and like the pick Nisha, she calls it. And she's like, never order fettuccine Alfredo. Like she teaches, she's putting it in a really funny way, but it is, I've seen theories that it's like she's teaching, you know, sex worker women to be sex workers or to think like a sex worker, or to, I don't know. There's much internet debate. And if you don't know her, then it's not even worth going into, but it's like, I'll send it to you. It's really interesting. But the high value woman thing is a very strange phenomenon that's happening, and I don't quite understand it. And I've never been good at getting money from men. Like people ask me a lot, which is such a kind of strange and offensive and weird question. And I think they only ask that because I'm a young woman, but they always say, why don't you do porn? Why don't you do sex work? And first of all, I want to always remain like, I think I'm the only, I don't know, I don't quote me on this, but I think I might be the only woman working behind the scenes in the sex work industry that has never done sex work or has never been like a public sex worker, and is a woman, and is like, so there's a lot of like men in the industry, obviously, that are not sex workers. And then there's a lot of retired porn stars that are, you know, having agencies and stuff like that, which is great. But I always want to remain like, you know, I don't ever want to see, you know, my clients to see me as like competition or like it's a weird, you know, crossing the boundary thing. And I always want to remain like, I don't want to say the word safe, because being a sex worker doesn't mean equal not a safe person, but running a business, I feel like that's an agent being an actor at the same time. And I don't
see what you're saying. Okay. That when you say it like that, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
But if you had an OnlyFans, I'd be the first one to support.
I know all my clients would support me, but but the real reason is that I am a terrible sex worker. I tried to sell feet pics in college, and I literally like had a mental breakdown because I thought I was gonna like, I don't know. It's not even like, I always knew I was going to do a weird job, but I was just so paranoid. I don't even know about what. I like literally texted the guy like, okay, can't do this anymore. Like I was so dramatic. And so I'm just like, I've always been terrible at getting money from men. I've never even worked for a man in my life, like for a consulting thing. And that's just, it's just because it's happened that way. Like I've met with men many times and seen. So anyway, this whole like share a seven movement about like extrapolating as much money from a man as possible, it feels foreign to me. And I don't know how, if there is something that you want to say about that or not as a sex worker.
That's so interesting, you know, that like a lot of these conservative women influencers are talking about how like why would I want to work? Like why would I not want a man to just fucking take care of me?
Yeah.
And that I feel like that's the same thing a lot of sex workers say.
Mm-hmm.
It's just same thing, different lighting.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And it's so curious that they're actually so like close together, but so far apart at the same time. Like I feel like a lot of these conservative women influencers, they'll be like, yeah, like I don't want to work. Like I want to stay home with my kids all day and like take care of the house and like let my husband pay the bills. I feel like a lot of sex workers, you know, they're like, well, I don't want a full-time job. I want to spend more time with my friends, with my family. And why not let some guy take care of my bills?
Yeah. But
And
that begs the question of like, what is sex work? You know, is because you're staying home and taking care of the house and presumably having sex with your husband or being arm candy for him. People get, it's not necessarily a literal or obvious transaction, but something's happening for you to be receiving, you know, care. You know,
yeah, like a trad wife, you're commodifying yourself.
yeah.
You are playing a role and you are reaping benefits from that. And
Mhm.
obviously being a sex worker is different because you're working really hard. And I think there are a lot of famous sex workers who like, they're like, yeah, like I see my sugar daddy once a week and I get paid $1 million a year. I think that that is like the top 0.1% of sex workers. I think most sex workers are actually grinding very hard. But being a housewife is also a fucking grind.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's crazy how like
it's so close to, you're right, it's so close but so far apart. And I think a lot of it has to do with like classism and like racism maybe, and a lot of very important like social contexts that it's like us versus them. Like I would never cross that line, but the line is so thin. Like especially what Shara Seven advises of like, she literally is like, they have to take you shopping before you sleep with them. They have to give you X and X, like I think she says a number, like they have to have spent 5,000 on you in some way for you to sleep with them. And it's like, that's, I mean, that's just an interesting, I don't know. Mickey is here, by the way.
oh my god, baby. Oh.
Say hi to Miss Luna. Speaking generally, everyone sells a part of themselves at the end of the day. Engineers sell their brains and their ideas. Writers sell their hands and their imagination. Construction workers sell their body, their strength, their hands, their grit. Do you feel that selling sex or so-called erogenous zones and parts of the body should be thought about differently than other parts of the body being sold in the United States economy? Should they be different or should they be seen as the same?
You know, that's a really good question. And I want to say that in an ideal world, sex work would just be another line of work. But the fact is that we don't live in an ideal world. And I think because of that, even if sex work were to be fully decriminalized, I do think that there need to be special protections for sex workers. And also there needs to be more education for people who are not sex workers about sex work.
In an ideal world, there wouldn't be a distinction, really.
Yeah.
Just we're all selling our bodies, and this body part happens to be a different body part than you're selling. You know, you're selling your brain, I'm selling my boobs or whatever. But I think because it's just in this lifetime, that's not a reality for people to be neutralized about that thought. So then there does need to be an important distinction. Am I getting that right?
Yes, you're taking my very like jumbled and articulate words and putting them together. But I do think there needs to be a distinction for the sake of like protecting this group of people from harm.
How does selling sex, and would you say you're selling sex when you're stripping? Like not necessarily sex, but like, you know, sex sells in that sense, like eroticism, maybe.
I think because some strippers don't consider themselves sex workers. And I think some sex workers, like full service sex workers, consider themselves to be in a completely different category from strippers. And I get that. There's a lot of strippers can be fucking pornophobic. And they're like, I'm not a sex worker, I'm a dancer. And I consider myself to be a sex worker who sells sex because of the way that I do that. I allow a lot of really close physical, like intimate contact with my clients. I also like the only difference, like the only thing standing between us is like my G-string. I'm selling fraudage, but that's still sex in a way.
Yeah. Wait,
and then
fraudage?
Fraudage. It's so funny. I first heard it from the manager at the club because I had sold this was my record. I sold like 72 lap dances in one night. And I turned in all my like lap dance coins to the manager and he goes, wow, that's a lot of fraudage. And I was like, and I looked it up. It's like the clinical term for dry sex.
Oh my God, that is so funny.
Yeah.
I like that. The question I was getting at was like, how does selling / eroticism differ from selling acting services? Is there a distinction felt from selling your body and sex appeal from selling your talent of acting, or does it feel similar?
You know, I love the quote, everything is about sex except sex, which is about power. I love that quote. You know, this is such a good question because people are like, yeah, like being a stripper, you have to basically be an actress. And I actually don't feel that way. I feel that at the strip club, I can be my most authentic self and that I can really just be me and I don't have to put on a character. I have to have walls in place to protect myself emotionally and physically, but I don't feel the need to like play a character. Maybe in the beginning I had a little bit of a persona, but it just became exhausting to maintain that. And it was just easier and actually more profitable to just be myself. Being an actress has been a lot harder for me because whether or not you get work as an actress has like 10% of that has to do with like your actual acting talent. And the other 90% has to do with your personal brand. And creating a personal brand as an actress is like a much bigger struggle for me just because I feel like I can't be myself because Hollywood is so reductive and so restrictive to women.
I was looking at the actress Ivy Wolk's Instagram story the other day. I think she might have been in Anora.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, she's hilarious. But she was like, people always ask me how I get cast in all these big things and all the time. And she's like, it's pretty rare to have a character actor be really young, aka playing a similar character every time. And she always kind of plays like the vape girl at the vape shop and like kind of jaded and like just funny and monotone. And that is kind of who she is at the same time too. And I think in acting in general, we're going to be seeing a lot of people cast because they are showing their authentic selves online, or maybe that's not her authentic self online, but it's the version she shows and it's the self and the doll that she sells online. And I really think that as time goes on, that is how people are going to be cast. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. It maybe be a slap in the face to like Shakespeare and acting coaches, but I think it speaks to the power of a personal brand. And I think that it might make acting potentially easier for people because they can basically just play themselves. I know it's not easy, but like I think that this theorist guy, Be Better on TikTok, I'll send you the video. It's really amazing. He was basically saying like, I don't think that Sydney Sweeney has proved herself as an actress because I think she did such an amazing job in Euphoria, but I think that we've all discovered that she did such an amazing job in Euphoria because she literally is Cassie. Like she's very similar to her. That could be completely wrong. I don't know her. None of us know her, but I think that is like very interesting to be in this world of this importance of online presence and followers and personal branding, like it is sort of important to, I don't know, maybe you speak on that, like what I'm saying, you could piggyback.
No, I think you're bringing up a really good point, and I think the polls are showing that influencers are more popular than actors, and that a lot of people who are really successful have done so because they're able to kind of play themselves. And Ivy is an amazing example. I mean, she has created such a strong personal brand and she can be a lot. But the reason why that works for her is because the people who do follow her are like gung ho for her.
Yes.
You
and
know?
I think the difference now is acting doesn't pay what it paid in the 90s.
No.
Jennifer Aniston, we didn't have to know who Jennifer Aniston was for her to make money. Like she got paid $1 million a week from Friends. Nothing pays like that anymore for the top actors. What pays is brand deals and from you selling a product yourself. And in order for you to sell a product, you have to show what you authentically like and don't like and who you are in order for a brand to be able to cast you in a commercial or whatever. So I think that is the difference in what's happening is like the money is not in acting anymore.
That's so insightful. That's so insightful. And you know, I feel like I know who I am and I know who I want to be in front of the world, but I'm worried that then I would only be typecast as like a stripper or a sex worker all the time, which I would love to have a career playing strippers and sex workers, but I would also like to do other stuff. And it's just, that's not how Hollywood works. And so what I'm saying to myself right now is, you know, even though I'm afraid that bringing my sex work business online will cancel so many future opportunities for me, it may be the way to like build my own creative empire where then I can produce my own content and I don't care that so-and-so only think of me as the stripper because I'm producing my own content. And I really think that that is the path forward for me.
Hollywood doesn't know. They have not caught up and money talks to them. So many times I've been in conversations with agents who want to work with specifically a client that I started with. So she was being indoctrinated. And they were like, well, she has to stop her OnlyFans. And I'm like, really? Because it makes $500,000 a month. And they were like, oh, never mind. And they literally were like, okay, like we have to sign her. And I'm like, exactly. Like, and so we didn't go with them, obviously. And we didn't go with any agent because it's just so stupid. And they don't, like money talks to them. So I think they're very naive on the implications of what it means to have an OnlyFans or to be a sex worker. Also, the reason there's not that many sex worker movies I've heard is because everyone hires sex workers in Hollywood under the table. Like,
oh my God.
That's why there's not a lot of movies about pedophilia either. Because they're
all pedophiles. Yeah.
So it's like too close to the sun for them.
Marilyn Monroe literally said Hollywood is an overcrowded brothel.
Oh my God, yes.
I can't believe that that Hollywood is like, never have I felt more stigmatized for being a sex worker than in Hollywood. And it's like, are you kidding me? Like, because you're hypocrites and you're all like secretly worshiping Satan, like in your houses.
Well, it's like, again, it begs the question of like, okay, well, you went out to dinner with your tits out and then you got the part, or you made out with this director, or speaking as a man's perspective, you sold so much time in your body for these other men, or you sold these intimate parts about you, maybe not directly sex. I mean, a lot of times, yes, but it's very hypocritical and very frustrating. And there are a lot of things that happen because of sex in Hollywood. But what I appreciated when I went to New York is the sex work and sex in general seemed very transparent. In Hollywood, if you kiss a guy, it's like, you're never talking to that guy again. Like if he's important. That's been my experience, like from 5 years ago when I was single. It's like, you're never gonna be taken seriously if you have sex with somebody, which is really weird. But it has to be kind of this like weird unspoken contract set up in place before you have sex with them in order to still be able to extrapolate favors and move up in Hollywood. It can't just happen like you like a guy and it's a genuine connection and then they cast you. It's like, if you do that, you're done, which is so strange. And I think that speaks to a lot of the power. But in New York, I was asking a lot of people, first of all, there's not as much of a blending of sex work and online presence. A lot of people are just creatives, and then they do in-person work, which was also very, very interesting to me because it's all blended in LA. But also I was asking people, a lot of people were like, oh yeah, like I'm bringing my friend, like we hook up and like we work together. I'm like, or like they do some sort of creative thing. I'm like, what? Like that's unheard of in LA. And they were so transparent about it. Many people, they were like, and I was like, you still work with somebody that you choose to work with them, even though you guys have this complicated sex past or whatever. And they were like, yeah, everyone fucks each other in New York. Like, it's just a thing. Nobody cares. Like, you did not give up your power if you slept with someone in New York, it seems. And I found that very interesting.
I'm so glad you're bringing this up because I think about this all the time. I hear people say, first of all, this was something one of the comments that was left on that Fox News video is people claiming that like I sucked someone's dick to get cast in Anora. Mm-hmm. And like, I didn't.
Yeah.
There's, I just didn't. And I'm not shading people who would do that. That's just not what happened with me.
Yeah.
But a lot of people were like upset and they're like, see, like she had sex so she could get in a movie. So a real actress couldn't get the part. And
you know how little actual sex workers get cast? Like, absolutely
yes!
That does not work that way.
Also, aside from that, we're living through a moment right now where like you literally have to be wealthy to be an artist.
Mm-hmm.
If your mom and dad are, already established in Hollywood, congratulations, you can have a film career. Otherwise, unless you're rolling in money, you're gonna have to fucking grind. And it's like, wait a second. So you're mad at someone who had sex to get a part, but you're okay with someone getting a part because of who their parents are. It doesn't make sense. And it's also like what you're saying, when you have sex with someone, you give up your power. That's how I felt growing up. And when I started doing sex work at the age of 19, I was celibate for 3 fucking years because I realized how much as soon as you have sex with a man for free, he loses interest in you. But the guys who were paying me kept coming back. It's like the money and like the transaction of it made them respect me more. And so I stopped having sex for free because I realized how much I was giving up. And I think that if I were to like fuck some film producer, he wouldn't cast me because I already gave him what he wanted. It would be far better to just dangle the carrot over his head.
Yes.
People are making that like people are having sex to get into movies and they're taking away roles from real actresses. I actually don't think that that's how that's
how real actors get cast, not sex, not difference in real actors, but like that's how it's worked for 100 years, more or less, whether it's actually penis to vagina or like some sort of flirtation dangling of the carrot happens. But sex workers that actually, like real sex workers, they don't get cast because, anyway, I think that's really interesting. With the parents being rich thing or needing to be rich to be an artist, I found especially true in New York because people are very DIY there. They don't wait around for the phone to ring, which I absolutely love. But, they're able to do plays that sell $10 a ticket or for free, but you're not profiting off of these little films you're making or these plays or these art shows that you're doing. You do need to either have a full-time job aside from that or have wealthy parents that are bankrolling you. But in LA, I think the nepotism matters more because people are very entitled here and they don't want to just make a student film. I have to convince people every day. They're like, I want to be an actress. I want to be a writer. I'm like, then write or then act, like make your own thing. It's not that hard. So I found it very interesting, the differences of New York and LA. I should write about it because
you should. I would read that.
Yeah. I think it's, unless you are literally bi-coastal, you may not recognize them, or maybe I've just been naive my whole life, but for the first time, I actually spent like a good chunk of time in New York and were immersed with the people there that live there, especially these very niche art Times Square people, which is a whole other topic. But I was able to make a lot of, observations there. When you think about the term commodification of self, is it a positive or negative connotation for you?
I feel like for me, it's positive.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I already know that I'm going to be like objectified by the rest of the world. So by commodifying myself, I'm taking it into my own hands.
Yes. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think if you don't sell yourself, you're going to be sold by someone else.
I tell everybody, because, people slide in my DMs and they're like, can you tell me all about, I want to be a stripper. Like, can you tell me all about being a stripper? And I used to always tell people, never forget your friend Sam, SAMM. Someone's always making money. And if it's not you, someone's making money off of your ass.
Someone's always making money. That's very, very,
Yep.
very
Whether you're at the strip club or the brothel or you're a burlesque performer or a drag queen, if you're not making money, then the owner of the club that you signed the contract with, they're making fucking money off of your ass.
Somebody is making money at those shows, and I saw a lot of celebrities at those shows in New York that I went to, that those underground kind of performances. And I'm sure that in some way they will profit from that, not directly, but it might, some idea might spark for them or what have you, and they may leave the creators out of it. What has, if anything, commodifying yourself cost you?
Well, I can tell you that, like, I recognized around the time Anora came out, I recognized that I had this very small window of opportunity to get to the next step in my career. And I tried a bunch of different things. Most of them failed. But one thing that worked is that I got a pretty substantial Instagram following, and I got there by just talking and talking and talking to all these different outlets and influencers and TV talk show hosts about being a stripper. And I feel like that got me to the place where I now have a large following, which is very useful to me. Yeah. But I've also completely branded myself as a stripper to the point where, like, I feel like I don't have a lot of room to be other things. I'm afraid that people won't find me interesting if I'm not a stripper. And
I push back on that, because if you weren't talking about a stripper, you would be talking about Anora, which is a movie that you don't own it.
People started coming to the strip club looking for me. And these were people who had watched Anora and looked me up. They come looking for me. And these people had no intention of spending money. There are people who just wanted to talk to me because they like that I'm in close proximity to, like, Sean Baker and Mikey Madison. I know them. I'm not like buddy with them. And people were coming to the club and asking me, like, what is Sean Baker like? Like, what was it like working with Mikey? And I feel like there was this like fracture of the self that happened where I was like, and people too were coming in and like mistaking me for the lead character because I guess I talk like her. And I feel like there was a divorce happening in my soul. And I was like, I did not sign up for this. I'm like not a real person. I'm like a character. And actually someone reached out to me and was like, I wrote a play about your character in Anora, and I want you to be in it. And I read the play. It's not about my character in Anora. It's about me. But I don't think that this person knew the difference. And he asked me to like come see the play because I said, I don't want to be in the play and I don't want to see it. I'm sorry. Like I can't wrap my head around this.
Wow. I mean, it is interesting because like we were talking about before, like being cast as yourself, like Ivy does a lot of the times are similar to herself. Like your name in Anora was Luna too. And
it was Lulu.
Oh,
I know, but they're so close together that people come to pumps and they're like, "Where's Lulu?"
Wow. Okay, I didn't even realize. But was that it? Was always in the script as Lulu?
Yeah, I mean, when I auditioned for the part, I was auditioning for the part of Lulu.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because that's an interesting, like maybe innocent or naive thing that person did that wrote the play, because I felt maybe that you were playing yourself, but that's just because I didn't know who Luna is. And you know what I mean? Like that was my first introduction to you. So, well, not necessarily, actually, it was through Selena, but that might be, not that that's like okay, and that's still very strange that they did that, but I think there is this blending that happens, and I think it happened back in the 90s where it was like, I know Jennifer Aniston because I watch Rachel every single day, like this parasocial thing happening, but it's in a very new and more intensified way because people are playing things that are very similar to themselves, and if they're not, then people think that that's who they are. But when you felt this Hollywood pressure of like not being open about being a sex worker, what was the moment, or was there a moment, or it just happened over time, where you were like, fuck it, I don't care, I'm gonna be open about it?
Once I became open about it, it was very hard. You can't put a lid on that.
Yeah.
But I felt a lot of pressure from people to distance myself. And during the Oscars, I entertained that for 3 weeks. All the interviews I did, all the photo shoots I did, I tried to put distance between myself and sex work, between myself and the community. I cried every single day. I cried every single day. And I didn't even know why I was crying until after. But I remember the moment that I said, I can't do this, was this literal, so I have a manager, and he's my manager, and we used to be with this company. We're not with that company anymore, like an agency. I had gotten a ticket from Sean Baker to go to the Oscars, and I got an email from the distributor saying, hey, like, your ticket is ready, like, you can have your manager go pick it up at the box office. So my manager is like going to get me my ticket, and they were like, we already gave you your ticket. And so we're like calling and texting and being like, what the fuck is going on? Like, you know, where's my ticket? And I get a message from someone on the team saying, hey, like, we already told you, you only get one ticket. You don't get another ticket. Like, this is so stressful. Like, this is causing so much stress. Like, you need to stop.
Don't they pay
I was like,
fillers?
what the fuck is going
pay
on?
seat fillers at the Oscars to like fill the seats.
Well, I know. Yes, that's another thing. So we're just like, I'm like in tears, like trying to figure out what I did wrong. And so we get in touch with like the box office, and we're like, can you give us the name of the email that like claimed the ticket? And this guy from the management company, not my manager, never spoken to him before in my fucking life. He was like claiming to be my manager and claiming to like be my representative to try and get a ticket to the Oscars. And finally we figured it out. This guy is a MAGA Republican, by the way. Of course. Whatever. We got to the bottom of the
A lot of people in Hollywood are actually hit the nail on the head when he said that about Sydney Sweeney. Like, somebody was telling him that she's a registered Republican, which I don't even know if she is, but he was like, you'd be surprised how many Republicans are in Hollywood, and they have to act liberal because of that's the way that the world.
And maybe now they don't have to act so liberal anymore. That company we used to be with, they signed Amber Rose, and I love Amber Rose so much. Kind of devastated that she's like wearing the red hat now, but whatever. I'm hoping
I think she might have gotten a check for that.
Part of me hopes she did. Part of me hopes she did. I don't know. So many complicated.
That would justify it to me a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, if you need much, she has kids to feed. But you know, even though I was like very heartbroken about that video, love and respect to Amber Rose for the person that she was to me forever.
Yeah.
But anyway, we get to the bottom of this like debacle. This guy was like claiming to like be my manager and like take tickets. And someone on my team was like, okay, now you need to call the Anora people and apologize. And I was like, but I did nothing wrong. And they were like, it doesn't matter. You have to like beg forgiveness and like say how grateful you are and how sorry you are. And I remember I wrote the email and I sent it. I fucking hated myself. I felt so fucking disgusting because since I've been 19 years old, I've been working a job where I don't have to fucking apologize unless I'm actually sincerely sorry about something. Right. And I felt like I betrayed myself. And I remember saying to myself, like, if this is the price, I'm just not willing to pay it. Yeah. I can't live my life this way.
Yeah. And like when you enter Hollywood and you're from a different industry, and you're not familiar with Hollywood from growing up or whatever, you think that what these people are saying, they're God. And you forget that you're the real creative. Like, they wouldn't have a job if it weren't for you. And I think that power dynamic is always something I really am interested in, because I've always said, like, I'm working for you. But a lot of managers say, like, no, they're working for me. Like, in Hollywood, it's like, especially like if you watch Entourage a lot, that's an interesting thing where Ari and his client have an interesting power dynamic. But at the end of the day, they wouldn't be anything if it weren't for you, and you're the creative one, and they are not creative. They were a failed actor, if anything. So they are not creative. So you cannot allow them to, the only thing that you can use them for is their negotiation skills. And even then, it's like, I think it's changing, where agents have always been like, oh, let me be your bad guy, like, let me tell these people to fuck off. And it really doesn't, it's so close now. People know how much clients are controlling their brand now, that it really reflects poorly on you when your agent is super, strong-headed. And I always say, like, I want to be your nice guy. Like, I want to make you look better behind the scenes. People always like talk about, oh, her team was a nightmare to work with, or her team was great. And so I think that is changing a lot too, behind the scenes. But how does your culture and the way that you were brought up influence or not influence your opinion about work and selling yourself?
My parents both really wanted to be filmmakers, and they were. They just never made any money. My parents had like 9-to-5 desk jobs, and then they were doing film for the love of it. My mom was born in Venezuela. My dad is like a Brooklyn Italian. My mom is Venezuelan. They met here in New York, had a green card marriage, did not speak the same language, and we're like, great, we're gonna get married and start producing films together.
So your mom immigrated from Venezuela?
Yeah.
But your dad was born in?
Yeah, dad was here. And my mom was here on a job, actually. She was like traveling like with a film, and then she was just kind of like, I'll just stay here. And my dad was like, my exotic flower, like, I'll give you papers. They loved each other very much. But I think that my parents, so smart, so creative, they're not business people. And I think that they were not willing to play the game and not willing to commodify themselves. And I think that they were the type of people that would have been really unhappy had they gone down that path. Me personally, like, I don't know where I get it from. I don't know where I get this from, because it's not from my family, but like, I'm like totally happy to like market and brand and like distill my personality down. I have limitations, but yeah, like, when I started doing sex work, my mom was upset about it, because she was like, you're selling your soul. Like, it wasn't just like about the taboo of sex. She was like
sell out.
Yeah, she was like, you're selling out. My mom was a feminist, like, but a second wave feminism. My mom was born in the 60s, where they were talking about like abortion and like women have the right to work, and like women should be like birth control. And I find that like women of that age, no matter where they're from in the world, like whether they're white women or brown women, like they have like sex work is just like, it's like a block for them. It's like being a TERF. Like, there are just some feminists that like cannot accept trans women as women, and like, even though they're okay with like all these other things, it's just like this one thing. And like, I don't know where I got it from. Maybe just growing up in New York. Like,
I mean, your generation is important too. And luckily our generation, I think we're this similar age. Like, we saw people like Amber Rose, and we saw some few, but sex workers, make it in the world and be open about it. And they never, my mom neither, like, didn't have that. My mom is like, loves it because she loves money, and she is just like, does whatever we think, my sister and I. But it was definitely a foreign concept to her of like sex work. And yeah, I think that's interesting. I know a lot of people that they have such a strong moral compass, but they're willing, and they work. I went to a very liberal college. And so a lot of my friends and people I know work for like nonprofits. And Sam is very applicable there. I'm like, you're not high, like you're not holier than thou because you work for them. You know that they're like extremely, extremely profitable and somebody is making a ton of money. Otherwise, why would they have it? I mean, I'm sorry, but unless you're already extremely wealthy, yeah, like there's very few things that people do just for the love of the game. And, you know, do you know what I'm saying? I don't know if I'm wording it right, but it's like you're still selling yourself at the end of the day. Everyone is selling themselves. And, you know, what is the difference? But I'm rambling at this point. But
No, what you're saying is,
yeah,
I mean, it's so fucked up. Everyone sells themselves, but when you're selling sex, people are against it because ultimately it's about not wanting women to have full control over their bodies. That's what it is.
yeah. And to me, like commodifying yourself, it doesn't mean always doesn't mean sex work. It means like empowering and taking like intentionally commodifying yourself, because otherwise you're gonna work for a company and be a puppet of theirs, and they're going to commodify you. They're going to profit off of you, so much profit off of your labor by selling your, you know, giving you a fraction of the profits they make from your work. So commodification of self to me is trying to help people understand that you're not selling out if you're commodifying yourself. It's not, you know, it's not this big moral blow to, you know, to be in empowerment of the brand. Because if you don't develop your personal brand, then all you'll ever be able to do is work for companies. And if you don't have a strong personal brand and you're still a celebrity, there's a lot of celebrities that don't have a strong personal brand, so they can only be this little puppet of commercials that they don't own the brands to. So as much as, you know, I think Kim Kardashian is a very relevant example, unfortunately. But I do bring her up a lot because she is very much in control of her personal brand and profits.
You can say what you want about her. She's an excellent businesswoman.
Absolute, like most, like squeezes every drop out of her personal brand and owns the majority of all of her companies. And that is something that a lot of celebrities will never be able to get on that level of, because they take the advice of agents and Hollywood machine. And I think that difference is Kim really has only ever listened or not listened to her mom as a manager. And that's a really important dynamic too, because naturally, if you're a sassy young girl, you can stand up to your mom. You know, you can say like, no, that's not a good idea, mom, like stop. And I think that was incredibly important for all of the Kardashians to keep it internal. And so I think when you start listening to all these people, and also her mom has a horse in the race beyond just making money from her daughter. It's like she cares about her daughter's well-being. But I think that there is something to be said about Kim's success because of those early days of her being able to stand up to her mom and being able to talk to her like a family member, because she knows at the end of the day, they both know that they'll always be family. There's no getting rid of them. And
that's a really good point.
Anyway, I'm not going to take up any more of your time. Thank you so much.
This has been so much fun.
It's such an insightful conversation.
Thank you so much for asking me to come on your podcast. It means a lot. And I got slammed so hard with work this week, but I'm going to book a consult with you literally right now because I want to get my own, like, I'm already making content and like posting it. And like September 13th is my launch date. And I want to get ready for that.
Yeah. That'll be awesome. I'm excited for it. I'm really happy that you're like shutting out all of the Hollywood noise. Like, I'm really proud of you for that. That's something that not a lot of people can say.
Thank you so much, Sawyer. I'll let you go because I know you probably have a million things to do.
I could talk to you all day. I need to let you go, but it was.
Well, we're going to talk soon. I'm going to look at your calendar right now.
Okay, perfect. Let me know if you can't see anything that you can do. Just text me. We can schedule it.
Love you.
Love you. Bye.